This idea that data democratization might be overrated was really interesting to me. Some folks call it making data accessible to anyone in your company. It's this idea is really flashy and it feels like something most companies try to achieve. I actually spent like 4 years at a BI startup early in my career, and it was part of our mission statement, like democratizing data for everyone in your company, give everyone access to like dashboards and data. But there's a dark side to giving non-data literate or non-technical users access to data. Just because more people can see the data doesn't mean they know how to interpret it. So, yeah, you've said that you're a vocal critic of data democratization. Where does this belief come from, and what problems do you think it's causing inside of orgs today?
I should start out by saying that I'm not really some like evil, like anti-democratic, I do actually believe in the ideal of data democratization. I think it's a great idea. I also believe after 25 years of doing this stuff, and my first job, by the way, was out of college was I was a SQL jock, writing,
Mhm.
database, queries 16 hours a day. So after a long career working closely with or in data, I've just found that, the pitfalls are so numerous and so subtle that people just they fall into them all the time. And they, figuratively speaking, they hurt themselves or the organizations that they're working on, working on behalf of, because they just don't understand the data itself, the raw data, the underlying data. So the idea, there's this sort of implicit assumption when you talk about data democratization that the data itself is has good integrity, that it's clear, and if only people could engage with it, if they only had access to it, then we'd all make better decisions and we'd see the world the same way. And I- I'm in for kumbaya, but I also know from experience that's not how it plays out.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, you can give people a crosstab of the same data, right? Just like pick two dimensions, put a fact in the crosstab, give people the spreadsheet and ask them to tell you what it means. And if you ask five people, you're going to get five different answers about that. Now that's mostly a function of, and that's not even figuring out what the queries are. The query's already been executed, the data's already been sourced, it's already been presented. But people have different levels of sophistication with respect to data, interpreting data. They bring their own hypotheses. Very often, what I have observed, what I've seen is that, and this comes from a dozen plus years of being a consultant, people bring their own kind of hypotheses and they're just looking for the data to confirm what they already believe.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not really an endeavor of discovery or interrogating the data or really truly understanding what the data says. And by the way, nobody wants to, not nobody, too few people want to acknowledge that data has limitations. There's some data that we simply don't have. There's you can interpret the data and extrapolate or interpolate within certain boundary conditions, but then beyond that, you're getting a little bit out over your skis. And so, you know, I guess what I'm saying is, um, data can be extremely powerful, but you have to have a certain level of skill and training and contextual knowledge to interpret the data in a responsible way. And ultimately, that's what I want. And yes, I want everyone to do that. I do. So back to this democracy, I would love everyone to do that, but I also know that it's just not the way that it plays out. Even
Yeah.
people who have data related roles all too often ignore, sort of the gaps in the data, or they only look for confirmation of what they believe. They don't look for, information that might, support a different hypothesis, or they just, misinterpret stuff, which can happen. So anyway, I mean, I think you nailed it. And even in your articulation of the question, it's a great ideal. But in practice, it's very rarely lives up to the hype.